All right, everybody, these are the revised lab instructions for the 5.5 lab. A couple things from your own station you're gonna need. Number one, no Bunsen burner. No Bunsen burner required. In fact, it would be better if you got rid of that. You will need the rubber tubing from your drawer. If you're worried about how gross and gunky it is, you can always clean it using the brushes that should be hanging above or nearby your sink. You will also need your own test tube rack, a ring stand and a test tube clamp, and you will need a scale. Once you have those supplies, go to the cart over by the hood right over here. On the bottom of this cart, there should be a couple of things. First, a container full of zinc. This is not really hazardous. It says self-heating may catch fire. Don't worry about that. Honestly, zinc is pretty neutral. Unless you're putting it under super high heat, it's not gonna explode on contact or anything. It's also very safe to touch with your hands. You actually did this during the 5.3 lab. You guys can grab 5 pieces of zinc from this container and then one of these test tubes and one of these test tubes. There's a small size and a big size. You'll need both. You should also grab one of these Tupperware containers. You're gonna be filling this with water. When you are done with the lab, make sure you put everything back so other people can use it. That includes the zinc. All right, this part of the video is called How to Light a Match. If you already feel like you know how to light a match, skip ahead. If you don't, I want you to watch carefully. Every matchbox comes with a striker side, and every match has either a red or a green or yellow powder on the top that combusts or ignites when there's enough friction and pressure. In order for you to get that, you have to rub the match against the side of this matchbox. When you do that, if you just do it very lightly, nothing's gonna happen. You have to have good pressure in order for the match to ignite. You should be hearing a like zipper sound like that. If you feel like you're not getting enough friction, you can always switch to the other side of your matchbox. Now, if you go just from the tip, it's harder for this to work. If you use the side of your match, you're getting a lot more surface area reacting with that matchbox, what's it called? Friction? You also want to go a little bit faster. If you break your match, it's not a big deal. There are more, but maybe try to use less pressure next time. And you know, even if you're really good at lighting matches, it might take a couple tries. That's no big deal. When your match is lit, it's obviously going to crawl towards your fingers. If you find that it's taking too long for your partner to do what they need to do or whatever, you can always blow out the match and you can place it on the table. It's not going to like destroy the table or anything. Again, strike quickly, use good pressure, use the side of the match, do what you got to do, and then blow it out. When you are done, make sure you throw away your wasted matches. Especially if your box is empty, it's really easy to just plop them on in there and throw the whole thing away. Back at your lab station, you need to take the pieces of zinc that you gathered and weigh them on your scale. Make sure you're in grams. You don't need to worry about using a weigh boat or anything. The zinc is completely fine. It's also okay if you have a little bit more than 5 pieces or if your 5 pieces are very differently sized. Not a huge deal. We're just trying to get a general average here. My math says it's around 5.8. It's okay if you have more or less than that. Just try to be consistent throughout. You want to make sure that whatever mass you start with, you're comparing at the end. Once you have your zinc, put it inside of the large test tube. It's okay if there's water in there. It's not a big deal. Oh gosh. Now, my zinc just had a tough time getting down into the test tube. So if you need to break it to make smaller pieces, that's totally fine. No big deal. With your test tube full of zinc, take your ring stand with your setup and put your test tube inside. Now, unlike the last lab, we don't want to have it at a horizontal angle. We want to have it, for the most part, upright. Mine, you can see, is a little bit slanted of an angle. That's just going to make it easier for me later on. Next, you'll want to have your rubber tubing ready to go, and you'll want to put your scale and all your other supplies aside until later. Grab your Tupperware and fill it about halfway with water from the sink. It doesn't have to be hot, it doesn't have to be cold, just regular old water. Now, what's going to happen next? With your setup ready to go, I am going to put hydrochloric acid into your test tube. Now, the reason I am doing this is because the hydrochloric acid we're using is extremely high in concentration and can actually burn your skin. So I'm going to be the one handling that. When that happens, I'm going to pour it directly into this test tube, and you can watch. Now, I keep this stored in the back in a safe location. So when you are ready for this, you're going to have to raise your hand and call me over. I will do my best to make myself available very quickly, but give yourself a little bit of leeway, right? I'll come by and then see this very long spout, I guess is a better word. I'm gonna put this all the way inside to make sure that no hydrochloric acid spills out. And as you can see, it doesn't actually drip. I can move that a little closer. It doesn't actually drip out of there until I start squeezing on the top. Now, I'm not going to give you a ton of this because, like I said, it is really strong. You can see how much it's already bubbling in there. I'm only going to give you enough to make the reaction happen. It's really important. You can already see the vapor coming off of this. It's really important that you guys don't touch that hydrochloric acid. And before anything, you really have to make sure you're wearing goggles. And when we're cleaning up, you have to make sure that nothing goes on the inside of this test tube. Look at that. You don't want that to be your skin, right? So make sure you are safe. Now, once I've given you this hydrochloric acid, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna trust that you are safe enough to work with this. You've proven your safety throughout the unit. We're good to go. What you need to do, using your rubber stopper, place it on the test tube. Having it at an angle made it a little bit easier for me to do that. Make sure your seal here is really good. Taking the other end of your tube, you're gonna place it inside of the water in this container. Now, you can see the bubbles are coming out, just like on the last lab, that 5.2 lab, you were able to see bubbles coming out of this tubing. What we wanna do here is trap those bubbles and hopefully light them on fire. To do that, we're gonna take the smaller test tube and we're gonna fill it full of water. We're gonna hold it vertically and we're gonna put this tubing into the water, into the test tube, and we're gonna keep holding it upright. I'm gonna move my phone a little bit closer so you can see what I'm talking about. So in here, there's my tubing, here's my test tube. The bubbles are rising up and being captured at the top. Now this is happening really fast. The goal is that you're able to do this experiment a couple of times to get your observations. Now once this test tube is full of that gas, you can ignite it using the matches I give you. Now, before we get too crazy into this, it's really important you actually know how to light a match. So if you don't know, go back to the beginning of the video and watch that section. Now, if you are waiting for your test tube to fill up, maybe it's taking a little bit longer than mine did, no big deal. Make some really good observations here. You can use your hand and touch the outside of this test tube and you'll be able to feel something happening there. You can also look carefully at the zinc and the hydrochloric acid and see how they are reacting together. What exactly is going on here? And then you can also practice lighting matches. If you're worried that you're not going to be able to light one quickly enough, you can give it a couple of shots. This is a safe environment to play with matches in a healthy way. Don't light each other on fire, obviously. Yeah? Now this next part's going to be kind of hard for me to demonstrate because there's only one of me. It's a lot easier if you have a partner because you're going to have to light a match and also be holding this at the same time. So, how this part works, a little tricky. Person A, that's going to be this hand, is going to light a match effectively. Person B is going to continue holding, that's going to be this hand. Person B, person A, person B. So person A is lighting a match. They have to have their match going first. Oh my gosh, give me a sec. Okay, I cheated a little bit. With your match lit, oh man, I don't know if I can show you this. Dang it. I'm basically the best. Okay, with your match lit, person A is gonna wait. Person B is gonna lift this straight up and hold it vertically. Person A is then, ideally, don't burn your hand. Person A is going to take the match and put it to the mouth of this container. So I want to show you closely. They're going to take their lit match and put it right here. You should immediately hear or see something happen if you did it right. If you didn't do it right and you don't see anything happen, no big deal. Just fill this back up with water and try again. Fill it up with gas again and just do it again. You have enough hydrochloric acid and zinc to do this reaction 2, 3, maybe even 4 times. It's more of a matter of patience than it is a matter of supplies, because as this reaction continues, you're going to have slower amount of bubbles come through the tube. You can see this isn't filling up nearly as quickly as the first time I tried this. So again, one more time. Once this is full of air, person A is going to light a match. Person B is going to lift it straight up. Person A is going to put their match to the mouth of the container. Person B, I'm going to be very clear here. Person B, don't drop this. I know that what happens might kind of like, you know, but don't drop the test tube. Person A, don't burn yourself holding this match. Don't get distracted by what's going on and forget that you're holding a literal match, okay? So don't burn yourself, person A. Don't break glass, person B. I'll hold y'all to it, all right? And then you're good to go. You should see a reaction happen. When you're done observing the reaction, take a close look at the inside of your test tube. When you are putting the match to the mouth of this is full of a gas. After the match has gone here, you should see something different inside of this test tube. So you're going to need to look inside the test tube very, very closely. Make sure to write your observations down before moving to cleanup. All right, cleanup's got a couple steps here. First, we got this rubber tubing. You can immediately remove it as soon as you're done. You don't need to rinse it out or anything. It just had it didn't have anything other than a gas in it. So you can just dry it off, put it back in your drawer. This is just full of water, so you can just boop, dump it down the sink. This is where you need to be careful. The bottom is still full of that very strong hydrochloric acid. It's less strong now that the reaction has gone on for a while. We're seeing, I don't want to tell you the answer, we're seeing some changes here. This chemical is not the same chemical we started with, and because of that, this is safer to handle, but you should still be careful. Holding it firmly, unscrew the clamp, pull this out. You need to put water in here first. Don't use so much water pressure that you drop it and break it. By putting water in here, you're diluting that acid and making this much safer to pour down the drain. And that also means that if you do get any on your hands during this step, this is way less concentrated, so it's not going to burn your skin. With this diluted, pour it down the drain. While you're doing this, make sure that you're not dumping out the zinc at the bottom. We're going to try to save that for future reactions. Again, I'm going to show you over here at the sink. We're filling it up gently with water. Swirl it around a little bit. Pour it so that you're not pouring out the zinc. Just be gentle. You need to do this at least 4 times. There's a whole bunch of math involved there. I'm not going to get into it. But by doing this 4 times, you're effectively diluting the acid so much that there is effectively none left. Once you've rinsed this 4 times, you can take the zinc and you can pour it out onto a paper towel. You're going to want to weigh your zinc again now that the reaction is complete and see what happened to the mass. Did it go up? Did it go down? But you have to make sure your zinc isn't wet first. Any little tiny droplets of water is enough to change the mass. Water has weight. So you need to not only dry this off carefully with the paper towels, but maybe let it set to dry for a little bit. While you're waiting for your zinc to dry, you can start putting some of your other supplies away. For example, now that this is empty, you can put it back on the cart. Your test tubes should both be empty now. You can put them back on the cart. Your rubber tubing can go back in the drawer. Any matches that you use should get thrown away. I don't want to see any burnt matches anywhere, bro. I'm not kidding. Garbage. The matches that I gave you, you need to return to me, so I know you're not going to burn down the school. Your scale you will still need, but everything else should be put back. When you're done with your lab, make sure you weigh your final mass of zinc on here. Again, you don't actually need a weigh boat, you're fine. Make sure you write down the mass of that final zinc, and then you can wrap it up in a paper towel and just throw it all the way away. When you are completely done with your lab, your station should be completely clean. That means the scale is put back, the tubing is put back, the countertop is clean, your test tubes are put back where you found them, the cart is full again, all that good stuff. And the match needs to be thrown away as well. I want to emphasize this cart should look exactly the same as when you got it. So the zinc should be here. All 6 of the large and small test tubes should be here, and all 3 of these Tupperware containers should be here. That is to make sure that every other student can do this lab in a timely fashion. So please make sure everything's put back.